Right now, while you are reading this, something is happening inside your skull. Your brain is receiving less blood than it was designed to get, not because something is wrong with you, because you are sitting down. The average person spends between 8 and 12 hours a day seated. Most of them have no idea that every hour they spend sitting, their brain is operating in a state it was never built for. This is not about back pain or posture. This is about what prolonged sitting is doing to the organ that controls everything you think, feel, and remember. Your brain runs on blood. Not metaphorically, literally. Every thought you have, every memory you form, every decision you make requires a continuous and precise supply of oxygenated blood flowing to the right place at the right time. When you sit still for an extended period, your leg muscles go almost entirely inactive, and your leg muscles are responsible for a significant portion of the pumping action that keeps blood circulating upward through your body. When they stop working, circulation slows. And when circulation slows, less blood reaches your brain. Researchers at the University of Liverpool measured brain blood flow in people after just 60 minutes of uninterrupted sitting. The reduction was measurable, significant, and it happened in 1 hour. Not after a week of inactivity, not after years of a sedentary lifestyle. 1 hour of sitting. Your brain was already operating at a lower capacity than it was an hour ago. But blood flow is only the beginning. Inside your brain, there is a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It is one of the most important chemicals your body produces. BDNF is what allows your brain to grow new cells, form new connections, and adapt to new information. Without it, your brain cannot learn, cannot repair itself, cannot maintain the structures it already has. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. The more you have, the more your brain can grow. Physical movement is the single most powerful trigger for BDNF production. When you move, your muscles release chemicals that cross into the brain and signal it to produce more BDNF. When you sit still, that signal goes quiet, and the longer you sit, the quieter it gets. This is the mechanism nobody talks about when they tell you to exercise. It is not just about your heart or your waistline. Every time you move, you are literally feeding your brain the chemical it needs to stay sharp, stay plastic, stay alive. Every hour you spend sitting, you are withholding that chemical from it. But here is where it gets structural. In 2018, researchers at UCLA studied the brains of people who spent more time sitting versus people who spent less time sitting. They found something that was difficult to accept. The people who sat more had thinner medial temporal lobes. The medial temporal lobe is the region of your brain responsible for forming new memories. Not just recalling old ones, forming new ones. It was physically thinner, measurably smaller. In living people who were otherwise healthy, sitting had not just slowed their brains down, it had changed the physical structure of them. And there is a third mechanism, operating quietly underneath the first two. Every time you sit for an extended period, your body enters a low-activity metabolic state. In this state, your cells become less sensitive to insulin. This matters for your brain because your brain is one of the most glucose-dependent organs in your body. When insulin sensitivity drops, your brain's ability to regulate its own fuel supply is disrupted. This is one of the pathways researchers believe connects sedentary behavior to long-term cognitive decline. The data on the far end of this is not subtle. People who sit for 12 or more hours a day have a 63% higher risk of developing all-cause dementia than people who sit for 8 hours or fewer. 63%. For doing something most people do every single day without a second thought. Now consider the environment most people spend their lives in. An 8-hour workday seated at a desk, a commute seated in a car, an evening seated on a couch. The average person is hitting 12 hours of sitting before they even think about it. And unlike smoking, unlike processed food, unlike alcohol, there is no cultural warning attached to sitting. Nobody has told you that the chair is something to be careful about. The human body was designed for movement. For most of our evolutionary history, a sedentary human was a dead one. Stillness meant you were injured, sleeping, or hiding from something that wanted to kill you. Your brain was built inside that context. It was not built for an office chair, a car seat, and a couch. It has no defense mechanism for a world where sitting is the default state. So it just responds to what it gets. Less movement, less blood, less BDNF, thinner memory structures, impaired fuel regulation. The rewiring happens slowly, quietly. Without symptoms, you would notice in the moment. You do not feel your medial temporal lobe getting thinner. You do not feel your BDNF levels dropping. You feel fine. And that is exactly what makes this dangerous. The research suggests the damage is not inevitable. It is also not reversed by a single gym session at the end of a 10-hour sitting day. The most effective intervention researchers have found is simple and almost insultingly small. Breaking up sitting with 2 to 5 minutes of light movement every 30 minutes. Not intense exercise, not a full workout. 2 minutes of walking, standing, moving your legs. That is enough to restore blood flow, restart the BDNF signal, and interrupt the metabolic state that sitting creates. The chair is not going anywhere, but now you know what it is doing.